Sometimes darkness is just what a franchise needs. Thunderbolts is a movie that relies on pain to keep it moving forward. It's unsettling, agonizing, and messy, but in all the best ways, unlike these predecessors that shared all these qualities in a very different light. Thunderbolts works because it's not tight or clean, it's human. Although the box office won't reflect it, the MCU already had its best of 2025. Thunderbolts said, screw the comfortable, predictable, and massive CGI stake-driven plot lines. Let's get a tragic character exploration with heavy depression themes and perfect sprinkles of comedy. Well, mostly perfect.
Oh, God.
Yelena! It's your dad!
A little preamble here. This is a full spoiler video. Spoiler for Thunderbolts, not spoilers for Fantastic Four, which we will talk just a little bit about at the end. Most importantly, for our main film, Thunderbolts is just another MCU installment, but here's a quick warning in light of some of the themes. Thunderbolts doesn't take long to let you know what type of film it's going to be. The very first scene depicts a full-blown S-word misdirection. Yelena is standing on the edge of a building feeling empty. She jumps off without the parachute on her back being too obvious. When deployed, it is revealed she's doing random jobs for the government. Yelena makes her very physically dangerous work feel like a 9-to-5 and starts hitting on a feeling of repetitiveness that many of us can relate to. So here's our first dark character exploration, and then 2 minutes later is a face shot.
Oh, I needed that face.
This is almost like a first episode in a TV show showing off some nudity or something to get a higher rating. This movie is setting the tone early, telling us exactly how it's gonna be. Yelena's relatable 9-to-5 theme is continued for me with the character of Valentina D. Fontaine. She is the worst version of Nick Fury. Val has a robotic, corporate-esque personality. One that makes it obvious she's only doing what she's doing to benefit herself. Okay, the impeachment storyline also makes that obvious. But Val's over-the-top smiles with an underlying impression of superiority make her realistically hateable.
That there's a bad guy and a worse guy and nothing else.
Thank God corporate Bucky is a likable guy. Although Bucky isn't the focus of the mental health theme, I really think he's been through enough already. Bucky does use his suit and tie to help us cheer for the good side of the government. Well, good compared to Val. While Val is scrambling to stay out of a peach, Bucky is out there using his status to help the Thunderbolts and help move our story forward. He's also abandoning his status, probably sacrificing his career to help. Bucky does eventually help with our team, putting on an act like he's not a misfit villain. The execution to get our team together is not at all what we thought it would be. In comics, it's always Val doing the recruiting, so those comic people were shocked. Plus, in the marketing, it appeared to be Val starting this, unless I just misread it. So, seeing Val as the villain is the start of our or my expectation subversion. Now that we set up our mental health theme and showed how different this is going to be from an expectation level, here comes the classic Marvel comedy. The joking of the MCU has been a big problem in the past, but I think one thing that helps out is saving it for specific characters. When Marvel chooses to lean on one character for comedy, specifically when it's a side character, it makes the tone be able to fluctuate to a lighter side and still not feel inconsistent. Although everyone has their quips, the main character that brings the comedy is Alexei. Right when he shows up, he's already bumbling around. Before meeting the rest of the team, Yelena and Alexei's character dynamic is so well done. They use Alexei's unrealistic lightheartedness juxtaposed to Yelena's empty realism to make the two feel distant. Yelena's out here trying to open up to Alexei, and this man is just thinking about his glory days or cracking another joke. I will say they probably go a little too far with Alexei's comedy at points. Like, I hate this father embarrassing daughter thing.
Oh, no.
Huh. It's coming right at us.
Who is that?
It's no one. It's nothing. Oh, God.
Yelena! It's your dad!
I also don't like how excited he is about the team.
Yeah!
Man, I don't know. Maybe I just want them to keep a dark movie dark. Either way, luckily for me, Thunderbolts uses Alexi's distance to create a tear-causing moment at the end. At this point, I was appreciating the funny moments for a breath of fresh air. So I was not excited to see a conversation with Alexi and Yelena where Alexi was losing his comedic front. He tries to comfort Yelena while she struggles with some of the most human superhero problems I've ever seen.
I don't have anything anymore. All I do is sit and look at my phone and think of all the terrible things that I've done, and then I go to work, and then I drink, and then I come home to no one, and I sit and I think about all the terrible things I've done again and again.
Alexi finally shows his warm side more so by talking about a happy family memory, something that he would have never admitted made him happy before. Proving that Alexi's character goes deeper than wanting fame gives us this beautiful meet-in-the-middle arc, which, although we are aligned with Yelena, we are watching both characters heal. I'm not healing, though. Jeez, this is... Before I can no longer make jokes in good spirits, let's talk about the team-up. Stemming from Val's impeachment, the Thunderbolts meet in a very violent way. Val is trying to trash her evidence, including the incriminating people working with her. So she pits all of our anti-heroes against each other. Yelena, Ghost, U.S. Agent, Taskmaster, no longer Taskmaster, and Bob, otherwise known as... After Taskmaster dies, these guys team up and get let out of this room before being incinerated with the rest of Val's incriminating evidence. I say get let out because it was Val's plan the whole time to get this group together, although that's not made clear until the end when they tell us why the asterisk is there. For now, we get well-oiled anti-chemistry from our group of four even before the real comedy begins. Yelena's constant sarcasm with John's asshole front, but softer, dumber inside. It all creates a very relaxed dynamic at points. Not to mention Bob, who we'll talk about in a second. This introduction feels very unpredictable, and the layered plot device this Bob character will become is setting up nicely while we're breaking out. Oh yeah, and Ghost is there too. Sorry. While breaking out, we get Yelena pulling a full-blown Toy Story 3 and accepting death as she thinks she's about to be incinerated. That was just before Val opened the door. Second, we get some flashbacks with Yelena and John that take the tone to an even more dreadful place. Yelena watching herself as a kid being the reason her peer got killed, and then John watching himself mistreat his wife and kid. Maybe it's the fact that Alexi isn't here yet, but I am really starting to not know what's going to happen next in this film. We already have S-word themes, face shots, and distant families. Now it's parental failure that we know leads to loss, and the devastating idea of killing someone that young in front of our main character. How much darker can we get? Well, how about some hard-to-watch dialogue with Yelena and Bob? Bob, who was previously just there for a little comedy, decides that he wants to stay behind and seemingly give up while the others escape. Yelena tries to help Bob by talking to him about how the darkness can feel pretty enticing, and it sometimes feels like we should give up.
And we all feel like shit sometimes. And loneliness, I get that, I get it. And that darkness gets pretty enticing, and then it starts to feel a little bit like...
Choosing to highlight Yelena's character by having her help someone else is a good way to show her layers while not making it feel in your face. Her and Bob relate to each other about feeling this empty void. While this emotional moment is apparently for Yelena's development, it is also setting up Bob, who has been raising questions all movie. First off, Bob just randomly showed up in this room they were sent to. Second, he happens to be touching people each time they have their flashback. Third, he has no excuse for being here in the first place. It's not long before Bob does end up getting left behind. In an effort to sacrifice himself, Bob stands in front of all these men with guns and probably takes at least 250 plus bullets. Jesus, now we have a firing squad and what seems to be a depressed guy sacrificing himself to said firing squad immediately. Luckily, the questions about Bob are answered as, after taking the bullets, he stands up and flies off into the sky. Info is gradually fed to us for the rest of the movie, revealing that Bob is actually Sentry, a manufactured superhero that Val was trying to make. Bob began as just a normal dude hearing about a drug that makes you better, and then ended his arc so far as a superhero who can do literally anything, but instead is caught so far by his depression that his highlighted superpower is locking himself away in his brain and transforming into pure darkness both physically and mentally. He looks like that and spreads pain out all over the city, pulling each citizen into their worst memories with one bad caveat: you die again and again inside each bad happenstance. The Dark Cloud is pulling everyone into this trap, including kids. This is harrowing. This true Sentry intro feels like a sci-fi horror moment with an underlying feeling of dread that is explored inside the darkness that is Sentry's psyche. Sentry being our villain already feels very different than the normal CGI monster battle at the end of most Marvel films. The main component of our stakes does not come from the traditional physical threat. It instead is the mental challenges. Bob fights the darker side of himself inside his own head. First, we see his past and the struggle trying to stop his dad's abuse. Then, a true fight with the Dark Sentry. As Bob is unavoidably concerned with himself, the only way our characters or anyone else can escape this death trap cycle is by finishing the fight in about the nicest way possible, at least the nicest way to end a mental health story possible. This is not an epic showdown of brains, brawn, or some last-second save, but a not-in-your-face CGI grounded finish for a man in need. Yelena and the others gather around Bob as his dark side is about to win and give him a hug. This climax represents the true focus of the story better than any Marvel project in recent years. It refused a neat and epic ending, prioritizing the relatable brokenness and imperfection of humans. Bob became the narrative glue for the emotional engine of the story, while at the same time giving us a decent fight in there that I didn't really mention. Seriously though, when you try to have a film this grounded and easy to connect to everyone, ending on a note that prioritizes the human element over the big save, this gives us just what Marvel has been missing. But they won't continue with this. How do you possibly follow up an emotional close-up story with what looks to be a statement, CGI-driven, big world-threatening ending, coded film? You fucking can't. But Marvel's gonna try. For Fantastic Four to work, it has to continue this theme that Thunderbolts, and although we didn't talk about it, Brave New World has. These films have endings that attempt to relate to audiences more than wow them. For Marvel to stay relevant, they have to bring something new, and I think this is it. A grounded approach. Wait a minute. This isn't new. Marvel's done this before. Iron Man, Thor, Civil War. It's always been there. We forgot that these movies of the past did prioritize the mental side. Soon, many were able to combine this with the fake CGI and grand scale that made the MCU great. That's what Marvel has to keep doing with Fantastic Four. Don't forget that it's not just about multiverse characters, Galactus, or some big end-of-the-world plot. It's about connecting with your audience on a level that other movies don't. When F4 is up there with Superman, something that you know is going to feel fresh in the hands of James Gunn, you need to win the emotional connection competition, not the big summer blockbuster one. Don't try and beat Superman. Try and keep the MCU alive. Things like Thunderbolts might be able to do that. Let's keep making our movies as raw as we experience the world. No perfect people, no clear-cut redemption, just highs and lows. Just like our lives, Thunderbolts isn't about saving the world. It's about trying to survive it. And I normally end with a joke here, but in the spirit of the serious tone, I am gonna just go out serious on this one. And with that, thank you, Edward. Specifically you, Edward. And of course, to everyone else watching, thank you. I had a great time watching this film. It was just a breath of fresh air for me, and I'm very glad I was able to catch it. highly recommend you to go and see it. Although I know you're probably pretty caught up with Superman right now, because I sure am. Speaking of which, we have the new Fresh Out the Film episode on Spotify only on Superman. That's me and my sister. We just get out of the movie, go straight to the car, and turn the mics on. Great time over there, so please check it out. But yeah, I think we're about done, so deuces.